you, Guyana, and welcome to Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us for another week. Today, I have lots of things to be happy about today. Beginning the fact that it's the first Friday in December. It is Friday, the second day of December 2016, and that means we're getting closer to my favorite time of year and some of your favorite time of the year. That's one reason I'm so happy today. The second reason is because there's a young lady who's returning to Facing the Nation, and please, she's become like family to Facing the Nation. One of my dearest friends, but she's also she's here in her capacity today as minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Of course, the Honorable Annette Ferguson. Welcome back to Facing the Nation, and let me take this opportunity to officially say not only season's greetings to the viewers, but season's greetings to you, Annette.
Thank you very much, Malika, for having me on your program, Facing the Nation, once again. And to you wonderful viewers there in TV land, a blessed afternoon, and thank you for having me in your home. And with similar sentiments, let me take this opportunity in extending season greetings to you and your entire family.
All right, great, Annette. Thank you very much. Viewers, you're probably wondering why Annette again. I know you like seeing her, but apart from the fact that I know you like seeing her, just a reminder, the 2017, and this has happened for the first time. I'm not going to push it and say for the first time ever, but for the first time in years, we had a budget that is for the new year read in this year. So that really is a significant change and a significant achievement for the government of Guyana. Some of us are still calling it the new government of Guyana because we're relatively new. About 18 months is still new. So some of you would have known by now. Last Monday, the budget was read. The 2017 budget was read in the National Assembly by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Winston Jordan. What we are doing today is talking budget 2017 and public infrastructure. And the reason I chose to do this is because I find our nation, we're very strange people. Guyanese are very, very strange. I understand that we get all tied up in our emotions, and emotions get in the way, and sometimes we jump the gun, and you don't examine things properly. You get out there and you say things and you even go overboard. Instead of dealing with the issue, you say things that are really vile and nasty. I know this for a fact because I get emotional at times too when I see things, going away that I don't think it should go, because again, we always try to come back to the fact, this is not what we voted for. We voted for change, and but I understand. I will deal with things different because I don't have the luxury of being emotional in the public domain. So I understand people get upset. But why I'm saying we're a strange people is that you have seen the improvement. So much have been done. I'm not saying that the current government is perfect. Far from it. But we have seen improvement, and we have seen works being done. And I always remind you the importance of reading. Figure things out for yourself. Don't go on social media and take one statement. The thing is, sometimes the people who push the negatives is just a handful of people. And when they push it, you take it. Read for yourselves. Analyze for yourselves. And I'm really upset with people who, in the past week, they're not economists. And I made a joke on social media about it. Some people like me, you have difficulty calculating two numbers without a calculator. These are the facts. But yet you suddenly overnight become an economist. And viewers, I am not attacking anybody who feel that certain things in the budget are not good and they will only serve bad for the people. I am not saying that you should not have your opinion. What I am saying is try to be a little sensible about it. So the reason I am talking public infrastructure and the 2017 budget today on Facing the Nation is because I feel there are certain sections in society have made our citizens believe that the 2017 budget is all about water and electricity, and that is not so. Public infrastructure is a very, very important aspect of our society. We need it. If we don't get it, we're in nowhere. We're going nowhere in a hurry. So the idea is to focus on what has been allocated in the 2017 budget to not only improve infrastructure, public infrastructure in Guyana, but also to develop new things as we go along. And of course, Annette and I would eventually be talking about some other things which I promise that we will begin with. But no, I think we should focus on allocations for 2017 first. Annette, first off, even before we get into your ministry, your department, and 2017 budget.
Yes.
Let's talk about your sentiments on the not only the budget of itself, but the reaction that you've gotten from some people. I mean, I know you're on the ground. Have you gotten mixed reactions, negative reactions? Let's talk.
Yes, Malika. There has been a number of mixed reactions coming from persons in the society, and the major concern I must highlight here are the VAT on the electricity and the water. But like every other thing else, I think they're comfortable with what the budget has for them.
For the other sectors and so
Yes.
on. Great. All right, let's talk about your...
But like you, let me just add this
Sure.
bit, like you, what I would oftentimes say to people, you just not listen to a few and then you build your criticisms on that. In order for you to be a part of a positive discussion, the onus must always be on you to educate yourself. Do not depend heavily on secondary information. You must at all times get to the primary source. You understand me? When you get to the primary source and you're able to read, conceptualize, analyze things for yourself, then you would be in a better position to inform others who might have been in the similar situation that you were initially in.
Okay, all right, great. Well said. And viewers, on that note, let me just inform you that this is not a case where Minister Jordan has read the budget. Now we're waiting for the debates and it will just be left there. No, I can tell you currently the Department of Public Information and the Director of Public Information is working on, actually several programs were already recorded. Some have been aired already. It was my pleasure to even have a conversation, a sit-down conversation called Budget in Focus. I had that conversation with the minister within the Ministry of Community. She's responsible for housing. That's the Honorable Valerie Patterson. I had that conversation with her a few hours ago. It was recorded, so that will be coming on the airwaves soon. So this is not a case where we had a budget reading and we're just leaving the public to figure everything out on their own. So government is working to ensure that all the information reaches you. And again, I don't want you to misinterpret or misread us. We are not saying that you're supposed to be happy-go-lucky and agree with every single thing in the budget. What I'm saying is try to be sensible in your analysis and go to the real economists, go to the sources, and even you of yourself, to some extent, you know how you spend, you know what happens in your household. Don't take someone else's experience and decide, oh, this is my experience too. And I think that's the problem we're having. So just to remind you, Budget in Focus would be on various television stations throughout the country, and I think they even have plans to put some of it online for our overseas-based Guyanese who really want to know what's happening. So again, we are giving you all of the information that you need, and I know there are going to be eventually be various fora where you can even post questions and so on, and hopefully those ministers will be in position to give you feedback.
And Malika, if I may interject at this point in time, the budget speech was read by the Honorable Minister Winston Jordan last Monday. So that speech would cover all the sectors. So effective December 5th, which is next Monday, right, we move into the debates where each and every sector, the various ministers will debate, will say, well, exactly the amounts that would have been allocated to the various sectors, this is how we intend to spend it in 2017. So the issue on the water and electricity, where the VAT is concerned, believe you me, come next week, we will get a more in-depth as to the reason why the government would have decided to apply the 14% VAT on water. But, Malika, if you may allow me again, I'm very passionate about what I'm hearing and seeing out there. And I think we need to put things in the right perspective. We're talking about the green economy. His Excellency, the President's vision for this nation is for us to move from fossil fuel to more solar energy. So I guess with applying the 14% VAT on electricity, it would allow for our people to be more conservative. It would allow for them to be more preservative and reservative. So if you know that, well, look, at nights, prior to you retiring to bed, you have to ensure that all your points, your appliances are plugged out. Even during the course when you're away from home, you do likewise. By virtue of you doing that, believe you me, you would be saving in on a lot of energy. So you wouldn't have to face GPL with a high bill on a monthly basis of over $10,000 that would now force you to have to pay 14% on the entire sum. So I trust our people, you know, the whole thinking, the whole, you know, how they see things. I trust that, you know, come next week, they will see things differently.
And just to follow up on that, Annette, and you know, viewers, this is why we have an opposition. But however, the opposition should be responsible. And come next week, the opposition, they're going to have their debates. Of course, some of them are going to grandstand because their lights and their cameras, but we don't mind that. They're going to debate the budgets, even when it comes to the estimate, examine the estimates. There are opportunities for everything to be discussed and explained in full detail. My only problem with the opposition is that, I mean, and again, they're opposition. I guess that's what they're supposed to do, is that you go out there and you're saying, this famous one, the budget is the worst ever. I even had to tell people, let's not be hypocritical. Guyana's economy was not glowing with cotton candy and candy cane and everything before 2015. Let's be real. Don't let's be hypocritical. What I'm saying, fine, the opposition is there to do just what they're doing, but then be a little bit realistic about it, you know? Oh, it's the worst and it's a burden on poor people and all of that. Keep your sentiments so when you go into the parliament, when you're debating, when you can have a sensible back and forth. But, of course, enough of them for now.
Yes.
Annette, let's talk public infrastructure. First off, I have been told, and from some reason, from some of my own reading and reasoning, the Public Infrastructure Ministry is probably the ministry with the highest increase in terms of allocation this year. How has the Ministry of Public Infrastructure thus far received that? Even though I know you haven't had a chance to put the plans out, but how have you received since you've gotten the biggest increase?
Well, I wouldn't say that we have gotten the biggest increase because I think the education sector would have gotten more than us,
but
right?
For the first time, you...
No, well, yes, you can safely say so. Well, you know, for the 2017 budget, Malika, there is an allocation of 34.556 billion, which is an increase of about a little decrease of our 13.83% of the 250 billion was actually allocated to the public infrastructure. That's for 2017. Well, you asked the question how we intend to utilize this particular sum. Well, Malika, we will continue with our road maintenance work. That's one. Two, we're talking about the green energy, and I guess you would have heard about Mabaruma. We intend to put a solar farm in the Mabaruma area. You know, we have the continuous work on the expansion of the Chedijagan International Airport. You know, we're talking about bridging the Essequibo River, I think is Kurupukari Bridge, you know, because right now the people or the users, right, in that area, they would normally get from one end to the other by way of a pontoon. So our intention is to have that bridge. The other thing we have in mind, you know, is linking the East Bank corridor with that of the West and West Coast corridors, right? So we will start as early as next month, 1st of January 2017, right? We will have a feasibility study being done by a foreign company, right, to have the study done for the Berbice, for the Demerara Harbour Bridge, and it will be a fixed bridge. So it wouldn't be a floating bridge.
Feasibility study. Let's go to dates again. And of course, Annette would know why I am stressing this. Let's go to periods again. Feasibility study to be completed.
No, we'll start on the 1st of January 2017. Or let's say, because we know the 1st is a holiday, would be a holiday. So probably the 2nd day in January, we will have the company here conducting the feasibility study. And they have given us a timeline of 6 months.
6 months
yes,
for the study?
For the study.
Wow.
So once the study is completed and we agree to its final design, amongst other things, then we go out to public tender. So hopefully, end of 2017 into 2018, we would see some amount of works commencing there on the Deborah. Exactly.
And even before we continue into the other areas and so on, pertaining to the Demerara Harbour Bridge, while that is happening, are there special, or if there is need for, no, actually there is need for it, are there special arrangements in place? Because 6 months, let's say give it an entire year for any works to even begin. What plans are there in place to keep maintaining the Harbour Bridge and keep it safe? Because I am always, like so many other persons who have to use that every day, we're always concerned. And this has to do with everything. The condition of the bridge, retractions and so on. Do you have special arrangements in place that would not only maintain but checking to ensure that this is happening?
Yes, ma'am, they are, as we currently speak. You know, the management at the Demerara Harbour Bridge there, they have a schedule of activities when it comes to the whole maintenance and corrective works to be done on the bridge. And mind you, I just want to make this clear that whenever major works are to be undertaken on the bridge, you know, the management would normally put out a public advisory or public notice. So people would know, you know, between the hours works are expected or the retraction of the bridge is expected to be done.
Okay. All right, great. Now, let's continue on, unless there's anything that you missed about that feasibility study that most of us will be so excited about.
Yes, Malika. So, some of the allocation will also go towards dredging, you know, of the Demerara River there. We have a major problem, you know, because what normally happens is that large vessels, and mind you, 90% of our goods comes through our rivers, the Demerara Harbour Bridge. So what you find happening is that we have major siltation there, right? So the government, through the Ministry of Finance, they would have, you know, allotted some amount of monies for us to procure a dredge. So we would see the dredging of the Demerara Harbour Bridge. So at least we would have more ships coming into our ports or harbors, right? Other allocations will also go towards the Transport and Harbors Department, and that is mainly to maintain servicing of our vessels, you know, because that department has a lot of old-aged vessels that service, you know, Region 1, Barima Winey. That particular region is serviced currently by the Lady North Court. I know we have the Cambia. The Cambia is currently out of operation. So there are other vessels to be maintained during the year of 2017. What else? The Linden to Lethem Road.
Yes,
you know, His Excellency's vision is always, even while he was in opposition, you know, whenever we go out there meeting with our indigenous communities, you know, his passion is to see the linking of the coastland with that of the hinterland. So at least come 2017, we have allocations in the budget to see some amount of works being done on the Linden to Lethem Road. I spoke earlier about bridging of the Essequibo, the Upukakari bridge. Green energy. Before you go to green energy, Linden to Lethem Road. I mean, I know this would have been to some extent ventilated in the public, but again, for different viewers, timeline. The Linden in terms to Lethem, of, yes. Well, I guess, you know, there's a process that has
yes.
to be followed, right? So I guess even if we complete one phase in 2017,
but works will
commence in 2017. So
okay.
if it has to be done in phases, it will be done in phases, right? So I don't want to say publicly, well we give an estimated finish time of XY,
yes.
and we don't complete it. So, and persons hold us to that. Right? So I just want to be very careful. You know, in the 2017 budget, before I move to green energy, I must let you know that we will also, in 2017, be seeing the whole transformation between the Stabroek Market area, you know, where all the speedboat operators plying their routes from Stabroek to Vredenhoop and vice versa, way to Ogle. Right, we will see massive transformation.
Let's get details about that.
Well, you will see boardwalks. You will see a beautiful scenery.
Viewership trying to hold it back so that the government can surprise us. But it's
exactly. So the Ministry of Public Infrastructure can
yes.
surprise. We already have the design in place and so forth. We have a team of persons coming in from the donor agencies next week, so that at least they would see exactly what we intend to do. So our engineers, they would have developed a nice concept of what that waterfront would look like. So you would be able, persons on its completion, you will be able to go relax with your family. You will be able to do physical exercise. It would be utilized for multiple tasks. So I just want to leave it there for now.
I understand that. Annette, how much of this can be or would be revealed in Parliament during the budget debates and during the estimates? Because you know that the opposition is going to probe, and of course the sentiments will be, the taxpayers deserve a right to know. What is the ministry in a position to reveal? And it's not only for this project, not only for the boardwalk project, I would want to call it for now, for other projects. Are you in a position to reveal as much as you possibly can and not here, National Assembly, come next week?
I think so, Malika, because, I want to make it clear. This is not a government that is secret of what it's doing. If you're talking about development for its people and the nation, by extension, obviously, the nation will become aware as to what the design would look like. So there's nothing for us to hide.
Okay.
Nothing for us to hide.
Okay. You only plan to keep it from me for today, but that's all right. Yes, let's talk about the Green Initiative.
Well, the Green Initiative, and that's high on His Excellency's agenda, and in the budget, because there are a number of measures in the budget, and the Minister of Finance would have made it clear that once citizens wants to bring in solar panels and so forth, they will get 2 years of tax-free holiday. So what does that mean? Is that you wouldn't have to pay VAT or anything or any taxes on solar panel equipment. So the Ministry of Public Infrastructure in 2017, we will be, greening or powering government buildings with solar. Seven schools have already been identified. They too will benefit from that. And earlier, I alluded to the fact of the solar panel farm that will be built in Mabaruma Region Number 1. So these are some of the things the Ministry of Public Infrastructure will be engaged in come fiscal year 2017.
All right. Indeed, a lot to digest, Annette. Even before we come back to the budget a bit, there's some other agencies and or organizations that would fall under public infrastructure, one of them being civil aviation.
Oh, yes.
I know we recently had an incident at our main airport where one aircraft coming in unfortunately hit the back of another, and there were some damages and so on. But in saying all of that, let's talk about even some of the challenges faced in the aviation sector and plans in terms of moving forward with 2017 budget.
Oh, yes, indeed. The aviation sector had its challenges. And I must let you know, from the time we took office in May of 2015, aviation is actually under my remit, and some of the challenges that they would have faced prior to us taking government was as a result of human resource capacity,
It was
right?
limited.
Yes, that was limited. So we had started to work on, employing additional staff. We had the opportunity of sending 8 of our ATC, those are air traffic controllers who operate out of Tamari. They're currently in Jamaica on training. Government would have invested heavily, close to 30-something million was invested.
And this is only for training?
Only for training. Because what you find happening, because of the lack of human resources there at the tower at Tamari, persons were forced to work overtime. So if you invest in people, you train them, so when they come back now, they will be able to do on-the-job training. So those who are coming up as trainees, they too would be able to, move to that level in some point in time, right? So we would have invested heavily in training. Quite recently, last week, we had the ICVM audit, because that audit, the last audit before that one, was done in 2007. And we had a compliance rate of 44.4%. So in 2016, mind you, we now moved up to 20%. So we're up to 64.4% thereabout, So the government is committed to a robust aviation sector. It all calls for political will. And I know that the APNU AFC government, we would ensure that the lack in resources are given to the agencies so as to ensure that we get our ratings would be high as ICAO, requires. People would see the need to come and do more, probably bring more aircraft into our country, amongst other things. So a lot has been happening in the aviation. For 2016, we had about 3 new operators coming on board. Fly Always. I guess you heard about Fly Always. We had Eastern Airlines. I think there was another operator that I don't remember at this point in time. So our aviation is growing, and it will continue to grow. Come next Monday, we have 35 persons who have been enlisted to be trainees as air traffic controllers. So,
and again, this is the government is taking, well, not the burden, but the government is paying for all of this, is facilitating this financially.
Well, civil aviation is a semi-autonomous agency. You understand me? So obviously they would have in their budget, for 2016, they would have allocation for training. So with the permission from the approval by the minister, yes, they would be given the monies to effect the necessary training.
Annette, before we come off of civil aviation, and of course this is coming from you, Annette Ferguson, do you believe that we need to do more to plug, because again, you started off by talking about human resources, and really and truly in these sectors we need, a strong, for want of a better word, a strong group of people who are qualified and to some extent experienced. Do you believe we need to plug that sector more in our, I would go as far as to say beginning from secondary school and into our tertiary institution?
I think so, yes, because for me, aviation has really been downplayed. So you wouldn't have persons coming out of school showing much interest in aviation. You understand me? So I think what they knew, because recently we hired a new Director General, Colonel Egbert Field. He has a wealth of experience in the aviation industry. So I think what he has stated to me, that going forward for 2017, they will do a lot of sensitization or awareness in the schools. So at least, you prepare young people's mind. Don't only look to become lawyers, doctors, nurses, engineers. You can, find a career in aviation. So a lot will be done going forward.
Okay, viewers, if you're now tuning in, this is Facing the Nation. Today, I'm talking with Annette Ferguson, the Honorable Minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Our conversation comes in light of the fact that the 2017 national budget was read last Monday in the National Assembly, and as we speak, not only Minister Ferguson, but all the ministers are currently preparing. They're getting their facts, their figures, and so on together as the debates will begin in the National Assembly next Monday. So that is why we're talking about the budget today. And of course, again, we're sticking to Annette's sector, which is public infrastructure. And as usual, you're accustomed to having two halves of Facing the Nation, two sets of guests, but because I felt this sector is really important, I decided, yes, so I'm saying it is. I've decided to dedicate the entire program to this conversation. I know last week and the week before I promised you that going closer to Christmas, the programs will get a little lighter unless there's some sort of emergency or something important, and this is very, very important. So we decided to backpedal on that and come to you with a serious issue this week. Annette, I know you have lots more you want to say, other things that you want to focus on, but before you even do that, how is Budget 2017 going to, of course, Budget 2017 and public infrastructure going to contribute to a further, because in the last month or so we have seen a slight reduction. How is it going to contribute to a further reduction in not only the traffic accidents, but general misdemeanors on the road? And of course, I'm asking you that bearing in mind that this is not the public security ministry,
yes.
But how is infrastructure going to contribute to a reduction and encourage people to be better road users?
Well, Malika, the public infrastructure, our main remit is to ensure that we have safe roads. Mm-hmm. So, we continue to, improve on our road networks. Mm-hmm. The other thing that we have been engaged in is a lot of awareness, because we work sometimes in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Security, to sensitize our road users, how they ought to behave, how they ought to use our roadways. But, we will continue to do what we're doing to ensure that, our roadways are made safe, so as to minimize the fatal accidents we would normally see in a yearly basis.
Mm-hmm. And staying on the road network and roads, again, it's your ministry, but let's talk about the overpass.
Well, yes, it's out there that the public infrastructure, I think we went out for design, or the design has already been there, to have an overpass somewhere at the Diamond area there.
Yes.
So I guess when it's in its final stage, so to speak, design stage, that is, then, the public will become more aware as to what we intend to do. But, not only overpass and so forth for vehicles, but we're also consideration is also there for passengers, right? Or pedestrians, pedestrians overpass. Because when you go to developing countries, in some instances, you would see, pedestrian overcrossing. So I think that is something the Ministry of Public Infrastructure we are considering, and we would see that being evolved as time goes by.
All right. You did say, and it's in the budget indeed, but some things we can't stress enough. We talked about those major road works, those major new projects that are expected to come on board. But Anna, the fact is we have problems in very small communities too, where there are bad roads. And I mean, knowing that, of course, viewers, I'd like to remind the viewers that the PNC is the biggest party in the coalition government. And of course, Annette is in charge, to an extent, one of the smaller communities. I'm saying that to say that we know that there are problems in these smaller communities. The usual drains need to be dug, bad roads. Some of these streets children play on. People speak through these streets. There are lots happening in the smaller communities. What is in place in the budget to ensure that those smaller communities get some attention? I mean, sometimes we say, oh, those are small things, but those small things matter.
All right, I just want to, all right, let me, before I answer your question, I just want to put this into perspective.
Great.
The Ministry of Public Infrastructure, our main responsibility are for main access roads, highways, and bridges and so forth, right? Community roads are basically the responsibility of the regions in some cases, NDCs, and municipality districts. But because of what existed prior to us taking government, persons felt that, well, look, it was public works responsibility for the maintenance of roads. This is why you had some communities were being neglected for years. But, Ministry of Public Infrastructure in the 2017 budget, yes, we do have allocations, and I'm sorry that I don't have the figures in detail for urban roads, and those are roads. Urban roads are roads that are basically in the municipality areas.
But
and
you're still addressing it.
Exactly. So all regions, from regions 1 to 10, there's allocations for that. When it comes to miscellaneous roads, these are roads mainly in communities, right? We do have allocations in the 2017 budget, right? So, and these would be roads in regions 1 way down to region 10. So no region will be neglected. And I must make this pitch because I think it is critical. In 2016, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, we would have done massive transformation in our cities, or in our city, mind you, and also in regions. Look, Sophia, for example. Sophia was a neglected community for over 20 plus years. Now, one can drive through Sophia with ease. They never enjoyed full electricity. We had electricity installed. Road, that is. Road lights, so to speak. Look at leg 1. Look at leg 1. So there is no disparity in us doing our work, because remember, we're a government for all, and we believe that all Guyanese must be treated equally. Leg 1, even though it is perceived to be a stronghold of the opposition would have neglected that particular region for years. You go in leg 1 now, the whole network, the road, who did that? It's the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. And mind you, Malika, we did not go out to tender bid, inviting, private contractors to undertake those works in leg 1. We utilize our very resources in the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. We have a unit called the Special Projects Unit, formerly the Forced Account Unit. Their main responsibility is for the maintenance of our roads. But it is this category of workers who would have done the massive road works there in leg 1. Look, for instance, Maka, the main access road to Maka, beautifully lit. Look, Diamond, these areas have been in existence for some time, but they were neglected, Malika. So the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, both myself and Minister Patterson, we have been given a mandate by His Excellency to improve our infrastructure. Because, while in opposition, as leader of the opposition, his main concern was the weakening of our infrastructure. But this government, we are committed to improving our infrastructure, because come with improved infrastructure, obviously you would have development, and people would have that better life.
Yes, the good
so
life.
In the 2017 budget, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, we will continue to give support to the Mayor and City Council and to all the other regions that have municipalities, and not only the municipalities but also the NDCs, and in some cases where the regions have responsibility for roadworks, we usually give them, the support.
The support.
Exactly.
Okay, and I want to stay on that same vein. And I'm happy that you did show the separation, what public infrastructure is responsible for, and what the regions and community heads and so on are responsible for. Now, so I'm going to ask you this, because this is another complaint. I mean, to some extent it was raised with the Minister of Housing, the minister within the Ministry of Community. She's responsible for the housing department. It was raised to some extent, but I'm going to ask you this. How much involved or how much responsibility does the Ministry of Public Infrastructure have in terms of working along with the housing department to provide infrastructure for new housing communities, meaning especially lighting and so on? Because people keep complaining that this is one of the reasons they are not accessing. They cannot access, not only access, but they've not built as yet because they're not proper infrastructure development in certain new schemes. How much involved is public infrastructure with that in terms of working along with the housing department?
Yes, I think there's some involvement when it comes to that, inter-ministerial support, or cooperation. But what would normally happen is that the Ministry of Communities, when they identify an area for housing development, they, should or normally would consult with the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, because I guess you would need the technical support, the technical assistance to be given. Because mind you, I get, in the Ministry of Communities, they would also have their engineers.
Yes.
So perhaps they may need, more support.
From
and
the
this
main
is
ministry.
exactly, and this is where public infrastructure will come in.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Viewers, I have to begin soon to wrap up my discussion with Annette. But before I go there, I see she has some more notes.
Hear you. Let me hear you.
Yes. Generally, though, even your details and your specifics aside, I'm going to ask you basically one of the same questions I asked Minister Patterson this morning. What are you saying? What do you want to say to the public at this time, especially those who would have unfortunately been already influenced by some of the negatives, which I refuse to repeat. I said it earlier on the program. What would you say to them? What would you say to even people who are engineers? What would you say to road users? People who public infrastructure, which is everyone, affect on a daily basis in terms of what are the positives should they take away?
What are the positives they should take away?
What are the positives, yes, that they should focus on? Because that is why I'm saying they have been unfortunately influenced by the negative sentiments of the 2017
coming out
budget.
from the 2017 budget.
Yes.
I forget to mention this important one. I know you made reference to the engineers, but also in the budget, we have 20% going to small contractors. You understand me? So if you never bid, be it you might be a contractor, you might be an engineer in a contracting form, but you have never bid for government contracts because of the obstacles you would face, previously. 2017 budget paves the way for you to get involved in the system. So let's say you have a company or you don't have a company. The first thing you need to do is to go come up with a company name or a company name or a business name, so to speak. You get it registered. When you finish registering that business and you get your registration certificate, or your business registration certificate, that is, you can now go to the GRA and NIS, and they will issue to you your compliance. And you have 3 months in which to get yourself properly regularized thereafter. So 2017 budget has positives. So as I said earlier, do not listen to the negative rhetorics out there. In order for you to understand what budget 2017 has for you, you need to read. If you don't understand, find out from the primary sources so that at least we can simplify it for you. If you need help, we are here to give you the help. And before we move on, Malika, I just want to take this opportunity to say to my, contracting friends out there, the young people who really need to get involved in the process. Currently, we have the pre-qualification forms out. So all you need to do, that form comes at no cost. You either visit the website of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure or you come into the ministry. You get a copy of that form. You fill the form as required, and you have time in which to have that form submitted with your particulars. And I think the due date would be on the 27th of December 2016. So my friends out there are opportunities. But the only way you can benefit from these opportunities is that you have to get yourself and your house in order. Yes, the opposition got their say, and others got their say. But you as an individual, you must have a positive mind. You must be able to analyze things for yourself. The government is indeed a new government. It will take us some time. And I like to use this example, Malika. As you rightfully said earlier, people are banging on the government, making negative comments. We're open to criticism, right? We're open to criticism. But if we look at the world, when God created this world, He didn't create the world in one day. Every day, He did something gradually. Yeah. That's why we have such a beautiful paradise. Rome was never built in a day. And I want to say publicly to you viewers out there, the APNU AFC, we inherited a messed up system. So while we are doing, we have to be fixing all the wrongs. So we just ask of you to bear with us. His Excellency promised the good life, and indeed the good life will come. Who gave you local government election? It was this government. Who cleaned up the city? It was this government. When you drive past the market now, you're smelling stench. It's a fresh atmosphere. That is what the good life is hinged upon. But we all got to understand our roles and responsibilities in society. And if we all can come together, work collectively, our country will be a beautiful place. And Malika, I will have my say when it comes to budget in focus.
I know.
But one of the other measures is that the threshold has been moved from 660,000 annually to 720,000. That is a positive impact, because what is that saying? Is that our public servants, they will be able to take home more monies in their pockets. We promise you the reduction in VAT. In 2011, you were promised that by the former government. You never get it. In 2015, yes, they did promise that. We promised that too. But it came in 2016 by 2%. And as the Minister of Finance rightfully said, gradually, we will see further reduction on our VAT. So please, my brothers and sisters out there, don't worry with the negative comments you're hearing. The government is here for you, and we are here to stay.
Perfectly said. And after you've said all of that, I can't at this time ask you to say anything else. Viewers, I must tell you, I mean, what Minister Ferguson just said is really what it is. She was being as real as possible. Of course, but on Budget 2017, this is not the last you will hear from her. Early on in the program, for those of you who are now joining us and you missed it, early on in the program, I did explain that the Department of Public Information, of course, which falls under the Office of the Prime Minister, that department is headed by Director of Public Information, Imran Khan. And, of course, he's working along with a team to put Budget in Focus out into the public. And Budget in Focus, really, you would see various conversations with different moderators, myself, and among a few other persons, who will be talking to ministers, and they will try to break it down as small as they possibly can in terms of highlighting the benefit of Budget 2017. So that's why I'm telling you, this is not the last time you will hear from Minister Ferguson on Budget 2017. When we get the dates and the times, she will also be debating in the National Assembly come next week and the week after that. Again, it's all about putting the government's plan out there for the nation, a nation that we know agrees with the majority of what's happening in our national budget that will benefit them. Unfortunately, I have to begin to wrap up my conference. Well, I have to wrap it up actually with Minister Ferguson. Thank you so very much for being on Facing the Nation, as always. She's the minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Annette Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Malika, for having me here on your program, and I do look forward to other invites. You know, this is my favorite program, actually. And, you know, I think I said a lot before, and I think I really need to reinforce some of what I would have said. Guyanese, you voted for change, but you don't enjoy change immediately. It comes gradually. This APNU AFC government is committed to that good life that we promised you. All that we ask of you is to come with us, walk with us. Let's work together, as our motto say. We're one people, one nation, one destiny. So let's work together towards that good life and towards a better Guyana. I do look forward to being here once again in your homes and, you know, sharing with you some of what the government has in store for us all. So once again, Malika, thank you for having me. And to you wonderful viewers there in TV land, may God richly bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Viewers, this is Facing the Nation. We'll take a quick break, and by the time I get back, it will be time to wrap up today's program. Stay tuned. Thank you very much for staying with Facing the Nation. Viewers, unfortunately, this is where I have to leave you. I want to take this opportunity once again to thank the minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Annette Ferguson. She really and truly outlined everything that is happening as far as she possibly can for now. Because remember, sometimes there are things that, especially when it comes to numbers and figures and so on and finances, there are some things that cannot be made public immediately. But she did explain herself very, very well, and, you know, again, remind people that there are other things in the budget apart from electricity and water. So, you know, it really was my pleasure to have that conversation with her. I want to take this opportunity to urge you to be safe out there. As I said earlier, it's the first Friday in December. People are preparing to go out to do their shopping and so on. I know we've begun to see the little booths at various points in our city, but please still try to be alert, be aware of your where you're standing, where you're walking at all times. Self-awareness will help you to also protect yourself and will help you to help the Guyana police force to protect you, because sometimes I think they still need help from the public to help to protect the public. It's very interesting, and it might sound a bit confusing, but that indeed is the truth. So I just want to urge you, with all of the excitement and the buzz and the fuss around you, I know people want to get new carpets, you want to get your decorations, lights and everything, and you get so caught up in it and buying that you forget that there are those who are very delinquent in society and lazy, the criminals who, are going to come after you. People might say, well, that's petty theft compared to what's happening, compared to the fact that big businesses and so on are being targeted. But the fact is, you have to do what you can to ensure that you keep safe and that you stay alive. On the note of staying alive, again, I know it is past the month of November. That's when we observe National Road Safety Month, but please, it is still an issue. People are still not listening. You tell them don't drink and drive, they're still doing it. You tell them not to speed, they're still doing it. So I urge you to just look out for yourselves. This is the time where you get just a little bit selfish. Protect yourselves, protect your homes, protect your families, and we should have a reasonably smooth Christmas season. So I just want to urge you as we get closer. Again, let me take this opportunity to remind you that the final Facing the Nation program for the year 2016 will be on the 16th of December. That is 2 Fridays from now. Facing the Nation will take a break and then return on the 13th of January 2017. Of course, Facing the Nation needs to enjoy a little bit of a break too. So we'll be taking that 3 weeks break, and I've been reminding you of that for the last 2 weeks, because again, I don't want you to just turn on your televisions on Fridays or even during the weekend when the program is rebroadcast, and then you're not seeing Facing the Nation and you're wondering what's happening. But no, from the 16th we will be taking a break from the program so that we too can enjoy the Christmas season. Again, just to echo the sentiments of some of our ministers, even the Minister of Finance, Budget 2017 is designed to benefit the people of Guyana. I want to remind you that I don't expect you to be happy about every single thing in the budget. That is impossible. I had questions and queries, and I was, in a state of panic too. But remember, when you panicking, take some time, calm down a bit, ask questions. Minister Ferguson herself said it earlier. Read. Don't always run with second-hand information. And I always remind people, what is good for you may be bad for someone else. What is bad for someone else may be good for you. A thing that a person is complaining about in the budget, this is the truth. It might sound selfish, but these are the facts. Someone may be complaining about something in the budget that is so bad for them, and they have to figure out how they're going to deal with it. But then at the end of the day, it's not necessarily a bad thing for you, and you do not understand that. So you take their experience or supposed experience and you run with it and you apply it to your life, and then it goes all over society. Oh, this is bad. It's everything that's bad. Take some time and try to decipher right from wrong, good from bad, especially as it applies to you, your life, and your family's life. On that note, this is where I have to say goodbye from this week's edition of Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey, thanking you for joining us and reminding you to be good Guyanese citizens as always. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. This has been Facing the Nation.